the bigger issue in this, whether or not you think her parenting technique was right or wrong, or she could have done this or that, was the fact that it was filmed and posted to the internet for millions of people to consume and critique and view as an educational tool for people. And it's all against this little boy's consent. She's kickstarted this child's digital footprint, and he will never be able to get it back. And that directly ties back to the fact that her children are being used as products, as proof that her parenting works, in order to be able to sell this membership and offer this personalized advice for people. Hey everyone, and welcome back to the channel. I hope you are all doing fantabulous. Today we are going to be discussing a mommy vlogger who has been requested quite a few times, Olivia Owen, who presents herself as this relatable mom of 8. She's known for her gentle parenting techniques, her funny little skits, and a couple viral moments that didn't go so well. As with many other family vloggers, her children's daily routines, tantrums, meltdowns, and privacy have all become content for her social media audience. And as we've seen before on this channel, when a child's meltdown becomes content, the parent is no longer just parenting. They are producing. They are producing content, be it entertainment or educational. And let's be real, that quickly becomes extremely ethically messy and just exploitative, especially when you're oversharing all of those big and vulnerable emotions. But before we get further, I want to take a moment to say thank you so much for clicking on my video amongst the plethora of other videos that you could have chosen. You chose to stop in here, see what's up, and I truly do appreciate it. For those who are new here, I'm Sasha, and this here is Mickey, and we got Minnie back on display there, who's also in the bed over there, but she likes to be comfy over there. And on this channel, we call influencers out for their terrible, awful, crappy behaviors in hopes to bring some form of transparency and accountability back to social media and influencer culture. If that sounds entertaining, valuable, educational, whatever the case may be, I would love it if you would subscribe and join us going forward, join the discussion, and also, small plug, please don't forget to like and comment and all the things, because it really helps out the video, helps out the channel a lot, and it allows me to keep showing up and continue making content for you guys. And I really do truly appreciate it. And I do try to make sure to read every single comment. I love hearing your perspective. Sometimes you offer me a different perspective, and I find that very expansive for my brain, and I really appreciate it. Enough about me. Let's talk. Who is Olivia Owen? As I said, Olivia Owen is or Liv Owen, I think she prefers to go by Liv, is a mommy vlogger with a pretty sizable social media presence. She has 1.7 mil on TikTok and Instagram and 930K on YouTube. Suffice it to say, she seems to have found a pretty profitable and successful niche, to say the least. She presents herself as this relatable mom of 8, which low-key, I don't know how vast that relatability expands to, because my goodness, 8 children is a lot of children. I have 4 children, and I thought that was a lot, but whew, she got double the amount I got. I can't. My brain can't brain that well. But she claims to have found calm amongst the chaos. That's kind of her catchphrase. And she did this by focusing on gentle parenting techniques, and therefore built her platform sharing this advice in order to help other parents who might be struggling with tantrums or similar things that she went through. Now, that all sounds good and great. You know, everyone could use a little bit of parenting advice here and there, or tips and tricks that they may not have known about and haven't tried yet. Right? But the issue here, as with many other family vloggers, is these children aren't just background characters in their parents' content, or rather, mostly their mother's content. They have become full-blown products of their mother's brand. But not only that, they've also become the marketing material for said brand. Her children's tantrums and meltdowns, and therefore her interventions, are used as proof or evidence that her parenting advice works. Therefore, you can trust her and buy her product. And in my opinion, that's almost worse, because these kids, their entire lives have now become proof to display their mother's content so that she can sell her memberships with the personalized behavior analysis. Yes, those exact words, and therefore give her personalized advice to individual parents who buy a membership to her channel. And as I said in the beginning, on top of all of this, when a child's meltdowns become content for people to consume either as entertainment, like the Churkos, or as educational content, like in this case, well, the parent is no longer present and parenting anymore. They are acting, performing, and producing content. And also, apparently, she's married while ironically and unapologetically maintaining the utmost privacy for her husband, whose name apparently hasn't even been revealed on her social media platform. Yeah, because Dad doesn't really like to be in videos very much. So that's, really great for him. He gets a choice in whether or not he's filmed, and his likeness is plastered all over the internet for millions of people to consume. That's awesome for him, right? So now with that little bit of background story of what's going on, I want to talk a little bit about her rise to fame and why people might be drawn to her. First and foremost, I feel like it's a lot of morbid curiosity. Maybe people who grew up without siblings and they're kind of living vicariously through that to see what's up with the large family. There's that natural morbid curiosity of like, how does a large family like that actually function day to day, and how do you not completely lose your mind? Which I would be very hypocritical if I didn't say that I kind of get that because of my previous indulgence in certain TLC shows like John and Kate Plus 8, or I kind of dabbled in the Duggars a little bit here and there, because that's a whole nother ballgame. It's one thing to have two sets of multiple kids, which is fascinating in itself, and it's a whole nother ballgame to have 23, 24 consecutive natural births, right? But I do have to say, had I known then what I know now and how those poor kids' lives were going to turn out, I would have never gave into that content. And TLC just like sucks. That was kind of the first dip into family vlogging, you could say, because it was filming their everyday life. Now, obviously, they had camera crews and stuff like that. They are broken, a lot of them, in both those families. But ultimately, curiosity. I understand why people are drawn to the content that is raising a large family. And then we have the fact good comfy buddy. He's such a good boy. And then we have the fact that some of her stuff is low-key kind of funny, right? She pokes fun at millennials and she pokes fun at gentle parenting. That's not gentle parenting, that's permissive parenting. There are some funny, relatable moments. And if those go viral, well, people will often just follow whatever. It's just kind of that mob mentality. Like this one, where it's millennials trying to gentle parent in public. Whew, that was a tongue twister that I had a really hard time saying for some reason.
Wait, I am so sorry that I said that it was time to go. How about we start a timer?
No!
Oh, gentle hands. Gentle hands. Gentle hands. I know you're having so many big feelings right now. Mommy just wants to validate them. Gentle hands. Hands are for gentle. I am not going to cause you any more anxiety than you already have. I will be right here ready for you to get up. I can see your head.
Well, you guys get the point of her poking fun at this kind of level of permissive parenting that, I don't know, the whole gentle parenting debate is definitely a huge controversial debate in itself. Does it work? Does it not work? But what she displayed there obviously wasn't actual gentle parenting. It's period. But it's funny because it's trending right now. And she even said herself that she found it weird that what she was doing started trending, but then she also grifted on it. So, I mean, go off. Get your bag, I guess.
I think it's funny that parenting is even in the category of can be a trend.
Yeah.
And when I say I think it's funny, I think it's stupid. I'll just be honest. I think parenting at its root, at its core, you have parents who are the authority figure, and then you have children, and those parents need to care for their children in their needs and everything the way that they see and feel is best. I don't think we should trend along the spectrum based off of what we've seen people are doing. So that is my take on our timeout tea.
And in doing that, it's really easy to build a following, because oftentimes if you're recreating a viral moment that people resonated with and found funny, and your thing goes viral, like I said, that mob mentality, people are just going to be like, oh, you're so funny, like I'm going to follow because I really like your funniness. And then she also has some pretty solid takes on parenting. Like, I'm not going to lie. I was watching one of her podcast episodes to get a little bit of a idea of who Liv is and what her values are, because me personally, I never followed her. I never really kept up. Obviously, like I don't follow family vloggers or anything like that. But I do remember her getting canceled and receiving a lot of backlash for her one viral moment, which we're going to cover here in a little bit. Other than that, I knew very little about her, and she doesn't have like a Reddit sub or anything where there's a lot of discussion going on and a lot of receipts and stuff like that. So I decided to click on this video because the title caught my eye. It's called Fafo Parenting, Yelling at My Kids and Breaking Down the Trash Mom, Time Out with Owen. And she posted that about 3 weeks ago, right before Mother's Day, I believe. And it was her first podcast episode back after taking like a year break, I believe, after her last baby. And I did find myself agreeing with her quite a few times throughout that podcast, but I also heard a couple like slip ups and some of the language and terminology she used that made me stop and like go, ooh, is that a red flag? And then finally, another reason that people, I think personally, are drawn to her, a large part of her audience is probably people, parents, who are desperate for help, maybe isolated or in a lower socioeconomic class, so they can't afford to go to professionals for diagnoses, for therapy, for help, and oftentimes are raising children with various behaviors or neurodivergent brains. Basically, some really vulnerable parents. When you come across her page and you see how calm she is and how she's reacting to her children, and her children are melting down, and how she does the thing, it can really resonate with people. And I saw a lot of comments throughout doing my research on her of parents saying things like, I pray for this level of calmness. I wish to be as calm as you. You're such a good mom. You're so calm. You handle it so well. And I want to remind everyone that social media is fake. It's fake. And it's also really easy to maintain a calm and composed nature when you're only posting a 30-second, 1-minute video with cuts, mind you. But realistically, what goes on behind the camera when the camera's off, we will never know, or maybe we will know one day if her kids grow up and grow out of this and start to speak out about their lived experience. And as I alluded to earlier, some of the things she said in her podcast episode that I watched, so you guys didn't have to, you're welcome, could be considered red flags, and how like maybe not everything is as it seems, you know? And if the allegations behind her allegedly being a part of the Kingston clan, Kingston clan, allegedly are true, well, their traditions when it comes to raising children are not so gentle, to say the least.
So the polygamous influencer I was talking about is Olivia Owen. I think on her socials she goes by livjowen. I'm not completely sure because she did block me. I'm assuming it's because she thought I was going to call her out, so she was right in that assumption. Great job, girl. This is exactly how people in the polygamous group I grew up in treat their kids, and they're focused on raising an obedient child. Evidently, as you see with everybody, they're all people pleasers. The majority of them don't leave because they're literally raised to just say yes, mom, for everything. So I actually have an experience when my parents sent me to a rehab because I kept running away from my polygamous group, the same one that she's from. And when I was in a session with my therapist and my parents, then I had told her that they abuse us all, even the babies. And my stepdad chimed in and he said, first of all, it's not as bad as she's making it seem. And second of all, even a newborn knows how to obey. You just have to teach them. What he would do is he would literally bring the child into a different room and slap them a bunch of times, and then cover their mouth and tell them to stop crying. And then if he let go of their mouth and they were still crying, he would do another round of slapping them over and over and over again, let go, and just continue the process until they stopped crying because they were completely freaking tired, like until they had absolutely no energy left. And this is the practice that a lot of, sorry, I'm like shaking because I have so much anxiety about this. This is a practice that majority of these people in this group have. I can't definitively say that this is how she treats her kids because I've never seen her in private with them. But the look that she gives her kids and the way that she acts and the way that she grabs onto their wrists and forces them, her parenting style is authoritarian parenting style, which is how all of the order is. And it's that you're going to obey me regardless of what you want. I don't know. I don't feel like it's healthy for people around the world to be learning parenting styles from somebody that is actively raising their children in a polygamous group that also raises their children to become very young moms and also polygamous wives. Yeah, I don't know.
But we will discuss that later, and it's all allegedly, because they're very secretive, and I can't even find her freaking husband's name, let alone, like, you know, her dad's name, if he's part of the Kingston brothers, 7 brothers, or whatever. We'll discuss briefly, because it's very interesting, and if that's all true, then this whole gentle parenting thing is all an act, and it's just wild, okay? Wild. Allegedly. So some of the problems and red flags that I've noticed. First thing we're going to discuss is her controversial viral moment that I mentioned earlier. Those of you who are chronically online, like myself, might remember her going viral for effectively forcing her kid to throw out a spoon.
The spoon goes in the garbage right here. Say, okay, Mom. Okay. Okay, look at Mom. I want you to go pick up that spoon because it goes in the garbage. Okay. Now listen to Mom. If you can't be nice, you will go sit down and time out. Are you ready to be nice? Okay. Just stay right here until Mom comes in. Hey Google, set a timer for 1 minute. Stop. Yay! Are you ready to be nice? Yeah. Yay, good. Say sorry, Mom. Good job. Give me a big hug. Okay, now River, look at Mom. If Mom says put it in the garbage, then we say, okay, Mom. Good job. Okay, you ready to go play? You can.
This video broke the internet for a time. It had a lot of people up in arms. And it's interesting because her podcast episode that I ended up listening to just by fluke because the title caught my attention, she discusses this at the end in the trash can mom, whatever segment. And I'm going to insert some clips here because basically she justifies it by saying that she had to follow through. She asked him to do it. She had to follow through.
So you can see even in this moment, then I'm like, okay, now like at this point, just get the job done, right? So I instructed the spoon goes in the garbage. So now I have expectations that the spoon goes in the garbage. You can see that I'm kind of trying to explain it to him, hoping that this doesn't turn into a major meltdown, a major tantrum. So I'm talking to him and I'm like, hey, listen, look at Mom. This spoon goes in the garbage because that's what I had already said to him. So he then throws a bigger tantrum. He's like, oh, I'm not doing it. So then at this point, I'm like, okay, we just got to get the spoon in the garbage because since I said it, now I have to follow through with it. So that is the reason that I'm like, above all else, I'm just following through with my initial instructions.
However, they said very clearly multiple times that this baby wasn't even 1 yet. So I genuinely feel like in this case, it might not have been the best decision to force him to throw it out, and he was kind of set up for failure because she gave him a multi-step task to do. I looked it up because I was curious as to when children develop the ability to follow through with multi-steps. And what I found was it said toddlers typically begin to understand and follow 2-step instructions between 24 and 30 months, or 2 to 2.5. For example, a child around this age can usually comprehend and execute requests like pick up the ball and put it in the basket. While 2-step comprehension starts emerging by age 2, a toddler's success heavily depends on the day, their mood, and the context of the commands, which is really funny that it says that because even she mentioned that in the podcast. She was like, you never know what's going to set off your toddler, and for whatever reason, this did.
I just set him off. It's about right there. I was like, it's not even that big of a deal. Oh my goodness. So I literally, like through all of this, I'm like, Oh my goodness. But that's the thing with toddlers is you just never know. You just never know if what you say is gonna set them off. So it did. Yep. I followed through, and then now we're addressing the tantrum.
But what I found interesting is at the 24-month mark, typically kids can understand and comprehend commands that are 2 steps but still related. If you have 2 steps that are completely unrelated, well, they don't have the cognition for that. And now this baby, he was just pushing 2 years old at this point. Arguably, she gave him a 3-step command, right? Grab your plate, put it in the sink, grab your spoon, put it in the garbage. That's technically 4 commands if you really want to be nitpicky with it. All of that for a kid who's not even 2 years old yet. It's interesting to me because she wasn't even going to mention throwing the spoon in the garbage, apparently. She just kind of tacked that on. She tried and to see what would happen, and obviously, he wasn't having it. And honestly, his little brain probably didn't even remember the 3rd step. Let's be realistic here. And in his mind, he probably thought that he was doing a good job by taking it all and putting it in the sink, like a big boy, clearing his dish, putting it in the sink. Who knows why he freaked out? Doesn't matter. He could just be a toddler freaking out because he didn't want to do it. But somehow the spoon ended up on the floor and this power struggle ensued. And she forces him, his little hand, to pick it up and throw it out. I don't know. I just don't think that's a really effective way to fix that behavior by forcing his hand to pick it up and force it while he's mid meltdown and all this. And she talks about it. She talks about the reason why she uses timeouts. It's because they don't learn anything. They don't hear anything when they're melting down, when they're in fight or flight.
Now, I have explained already why I use timeouts, but in case you missed it or in case you don't know, I'm just going to give a quick, brief little rundown. Especially with kids this age, as I said, he is just before 2 years old. Tantrums are pretty often, and maybe it's just my kids. I know I've said this before, and a lot of people have said, well, my kids have never had a tantrum. My kids have never thrown. Great, happy for you. I don't know what it is. My kids have a lot of tantrums at about this age. A lot of things set them off. And you know what? Maybe it is because I have a lot of expectations, and I do give a lot of instructions, and I do have to follow through. And sometimes kids just don't like me to follow through. Maybe that's it. I don't know. And then at this point, now the tantrum is at a point to where even if I were to calmly just be like, hey, I understand, or I see that you didn't want to put the spoon in the garbage, and I go through all of this talk through with him. I don't know if you've ever tried that. And especially with this specific example, I'll just tell you right now, that's not going to work. He's just going to continue to throw himself around, continue to scream in my face, continue to do all of those things, and we're not going to get anywhere. So I could sit and empathize with him as much as y'all wanted me to, and nothing would change. He is in what do they say, a fight or flight mode where all he can think about is that he wanted to put the spoon in the sink. So in this moment, there's not really anything that I could say or do that will calm him down and recenter him. So at this point, it's just you know what? We're taking a break. Sit in your spot. And I had already taught him what timeout meant. I pick a spot in my house. In this house, it was the stairs. So I sat him down on the stairs and I explained to him, you're going to sit here until the timer goes off. And I set the timer for his age. So he's 2 or he's nearly 2. So I said, okay, we're doing 2 minutes. Or maybe I did 1. I don't even know.
I don't remember.
I'm not going to address. I'm not going to hear him. I'm not going to see him. I'm not going to feel him. Okay, sit down. Just sit. And I'm not mad. That's the thing. Even as I take him over to his spot, I'm not mad. I just understand that he's really upset. So I'm just going to give him a minute. And in this minute, that's when he can just feel all he wants. If he wants to cry, he can cry. If he wants to be sad, he could be sad. If he wants to be happy, he could be happy. It's his time out. He can do what he wants with it. It is contained, so he has to sit on his spot because I'm not going to allow him to run around and throw himself down on the floor and kick and scream and do. No, we can express ourselves without doing it that way, right? So I am training how he expresses himself when he's angry. We don't physically hurt people. We don't cause a scene. We're not melting down on the floor. We're not kicking and screaming. We sit down in timeout. Mom sets the timer. She steps away. I'm literally in his eyesight. So I'm not abandoning him as he's sitting down in timeout. I'm sitting on the chair. He's sitting on the stairs. We're both taking a breather.
So in my opinion, I feel as though if you're going to use a timeout, an age-appropriate timeout, 1 minute for a 1-year-old, I think that it would have been more effective to have put him in timeout to calm down and then had him go throw out the spoon. And if he throws another tantrum because he doesn't want to throw out the spoon, well, then we do it again. We put him in a minute timeout and we try again versus escalating the meltdown but that's just my opinion. And of course, hindsight's always 2020. I mean, she doesn't say that she regrets that or whatever. They just kind of justified their actions behind it of like, oh, well, I said something, so I have to follow through with it, which fair. I agree. But I think the follow through could have come after the calm down versus the forcing of the hand. The bigger issue in this, whether or not you think her parenting technique was right or wrong, or she could have done this or that, was the fact that it was filmed and posted to the internet for millions of people to consume and critique and view as an educational tool for people. And it's all against this little boy's consent. She's kickstarted this child's digital footprint, and he will never be able to get it back. And the court of public opinion is already shaping their thoughts and views of this child because he was used for content during a vulnerable moment. That opens the door for people to start calling him names. He's being a brat. He's being spoiled. At the core of it, that's what it always comes back to. Kids cannot consent to the digital footprint that their parents are creating for them. And the internet is forever. His vulnerability, his meltdowns have now been used for educational content for her audience. And that's not his job. Now, is there inherent value to educating people on how to calmly react to and redirect and parent their children? Yes. Absolutely. Nobody is arguing that. But I genuinely think that if your heart is in the right place and your priorities are straight, there is a way to deliver parenting advice and content without exploiting your children's vulnerable moments. You can still grow a platform without showing them in complete and total meltdowns. But what's quicker, easier, more lucrative, more shocking? Tears. They always are. Now, another thing that made me go, was her saying immediate first time obedience. Throughout the podcast episode, an hour and a half, she used words like obedience and training and stuff, just weird words like that when describing her children multiple times.
And now I'm just training disobedience instead of obedience.
And remember what I said earlier about her maybe allegedly being having ties to a cult, allegedly? The Kingston clan, as they call themselves, allegedly. I really don't want to get sued for this because this is not confirmed. It's not confirmed, but there's people who know her who say that she's in the thing. But guess what one of their ideologies are when it comes to raising children? Can you take a wild guess? Immediate first time obedience. I found another creator who was raised in the same cult that Liv and her husband are still active in.
Allegedly.
Oh, and by the way, this cult is a polygamous, incestuous cult. So that's fun. That's really creepy. And some of the things that this creator talks about in her videos on Liv and on her lived experience in being raised in this cult were really chilling, to say the least. There is a polygamous influencer with 1.7 million followers, except no one knows, and she's giving parenting advice. I think that the reason that this woman came on and started talking about this, if this is all true, is because it's not gentle parenting. It's not gentle parenting. And when we think about terms like training our children, where else have we heard that? We've heard that from Ruby Frankie and Bonnie Griffith and people like that or Bonnie Holine, the Griffiths, who blanket train, Mormons who blanket train their children. I don't know. It's just something to note that that's the type of terminology that Liv used. Now, maybe they're not active. Maybe they don't practice. Maybe they found their own thing and stuff like that. Yes, of course. But it's still really interesting for me personally to learn about, and wild if it is true. Then what's going on behind the camera, there's no doubt that her kids are immediately obedient. You know what I mean?
Since we're on the topic of polygamous cults, did you guys know that there is 1.7 million people following and seeking parenting advice from a woman that is currently in a polygamous incestuous cult? How would I know this? Because I've had the same one. Except she is a current member. Her husband is living polygamy as we speak here today. She has 8 children from Utah, obviously. They're always from Utah. And yeah, she obviously does not disclose the fact that she is in a polygamous cult. She doesn't talk about her religious beliefs because I'm assuming, hopefully, nobody would take parenting advice from somebody that is raising their children in such a horrible, toxic place. And I would know because I was also raised in it and it was the worst. And there was one specific video where she was like telling her son to be happy, or like, oh, are you gonna be happy? Are you gonna be happy? Like, something like that, right? And it just reminded me so much of one of the order members' favorite things to say to children, and that is first time obedience with a smile. And me personally, I can't speak for her children, but if I didn't obey the first time with a smile, I got beat. So there's that. Yeah, the more you know.
So again, this woman who was raised in this cult, who says that, you know, she was, the Liv is in the same one and active. Who knows? That could just be speculation that they're still active in practice, whatever. But one of the things they say is first time obedience with a smile. And one thing that I've noticed from Liv a lot is that she's constantly labeling her kids as not nice when they're having big emotions.
Now listen to mom. If you can't be nice, you will go sit down and time out. You ready to be nice? Okay, so now it's time to be nice. Are you ready to be nice? Okay, you can go sit down in your room for a little bit. It's time to be nice. If you can't be nice, you will go sit down and time out. Are you ready to be nice? Good job. Say sorry, Mom.
So it's like, oh, you're doing this to me. You're making my life harder because you're having these big emotions and it's not nice. No, it's a healthy expression of emotion and it's okay. And it has nothing to do with niceness. It has to do with them being overwhelmed or upset or angry or whatever. And when she was talking in her podcast about not yelling at her children because it doesn't do anything, which I'm not saying go yell at your children, obviously. And I think that it's better to handle things in a calm manner if you can. But throughout, she was talking about the fact that she doesn't yell at her children because it doesn't achieve anything. It doesn't achieve a better result. Maybe it's the same result, but long term, it doesn't change the behavior. It's kind of the same as corporal punishment, right? Like it changes the behavior in the short term, but it doesn't actually fix the root cause of the behaviors. But she was also kind of treading the line of shaming people who yell or get angry or frustrated. And that's where I think that's toxic and harmful for people. And some of the things she was alluding to was like, I don't want my children to grow up and, you know, frig, I don't even remember what she was saying, but along the lines of like anger is bad and overwhelm is bad and all those negative emotions are bad. And it's like, no, they're not. There are unhealthy ways to express that. And I agree with her in the fact that like, no, you set boundaries. You can't talk to me that way. You can't treat me that way. You can't hit me, whatever the case may be. But to tread the line of making negative emotions bad is just dangerous advice, in my opinion, because everyone experiences anger or frustration. We are human. We are living the human experience. And especially as parents, we get overwhelmed, we're tired, we're burnt out, we're overstimulated. And I don't think that it's necessarily wrong to express that frustration to your children, not at your children, right? We're not going to be attacking. We're not going to be name calling, but saying something like, I'm feeling angry right now and overwhelmed, so I need a minute, and communicating with the children that like, I'm angry, I'm losing my patience. I don't think that that's necessarily a bad thing. But interestingly, what Liv does is she puts herself in time out and oftentimes just completely shuts down and ignores her children.
Okay, if I'm on autopilot, right, I'm just going through the motions. And then a lot of times if my kids are like, hey mom, it's like really short, curt answers, responses, if any. Yeah. And it's just like, sometimes if they're like, hey mom, where's the milk? No answer, because I know I can't say something nice.
So in this clip that I took where she's sharing like mom's timeout, how she takes a time out, she says that If she's at that breaking point, she won't even talk to her children. If kids are coming up and going, mom, 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 she just silent treatment, doesn't say anything, and then goes and locks herself in her room. And even if they're banging on the door and whatever, like, silent treatment.
So I'm going to make sure that the house is fine if I turned around and stepped away for a little bit. During all of this, if I have kids coming at me, mom, 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 I need you, I'm not going to say anything, because if I can't say something nice, I'm not saying anything. If I can't open my mouth and not have a good tone coming out, we're not talking at all. So then I'm just going to go through and check off those things, make sure everything is good. And then as soon as it is, I'm going to march my butt right back into my own bedroom, shut and lock that door. And if kids are yelling, mom, 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 at my door, I don't care. For a minute, it is better for everybody, for me to ignore everything, to ignore everybody, and just get into a place that I can calmly assess what needs to happen and respond the way that I need to.
To me, it's like, okay, I am all for walking away. When I was working on maternity, that was one thing that we had to teach new parents. If your baby is crying and inconsolable and you've been going at it for an hour, for whatever, and you feel yourself getting frustrated, put your baby down in their crib in a safe place and walk away for 5 minutes. Go breathe where you can't hear your baby crying. You need to reset and come back as a better parent, because crying isn't going to hurt your children, isn't going to hurt your baby, right? But your frustration can lead to hurting your baby. It is so important for parents to be able to walk away when they need a minute to breathe, when they're feeling overstimulated. So the message I agree with. However, I don't think that ignoring your children and just leaving them hanging when they're trying to talk to you and stuff is the better alternative, and then going and locking yourself in your room and having your kids sit there and question, like, what's going on? Should we be do you know what I mean? Versus just telling them, I'm frustrated, I'm overstimulated, I'm going to put myself in a timeout. And her mentality is like, I don't have anything nice to say, so I'm not going to say anything at all. And if I can't say it in a nice, gentle tone, I'm not going to say it at all. And I just don't agree with that. I think that communicating with them that mommy's feeling overwhelmed, overstimulated, whatever the case may be, and very frustrated, and I'm feeling like I'm going to say something mean, so I'm going to put myself in timeout. I'll be right back. Go play, right? And then after that, like, yeah, if they're still chasing you down, like, no, guys, go. Like, get out of here. Go play. But I just feel like giving them the silent treatment and withdrawing love and like withdrawing from them isn't the best thing to do. And this is advice that she's giving people. And I just feel like she was bordering on shaming people, even if it wasn't intentional. Those are what her words and what she was saying were kind of alluding to. There are ways that you can display anger or frustration without it being harmful, because those are real and valid and healthy emotions that everyone experiences as a human being, and labeling them as bad and like we can't feel those emotions, I think is really harmful. And yes, there are unhealthy ways to display anger. So how you communicate your anger with your children is extremely important. And even if you slip up, we can always go and make up to the children and apologize. And I just think that that little bit of communication that I'm feeling frustrated, I'm going to excuse myself, is a healthier alternative than just withdrawing love and attention completely and just shutting down and like, gone. Another weird thing that she said was that she treats herself to like some doom scrolling as an incentive to go back out to the chaos, because it's like, it's not just going to calm down. She needs incentive to go back out.
A minute to just calm down. This is the point where I'm like, okay, now I need some sort of like a booster. Because like, what's my incentive to walk back out my bedroom door? You know, I just got away from all of the chaos. Why would I walk back into it and become overstimulated again? So this is when I'm like, okay, I need a little bit of a like a pick me up. So I will scroll some funny memes, get some positivity, or use this podcast and help motivate you or get you a little bit centered, get you excited about life again. Just something that's going to bring encouragement. Honestly, even pray, just something to boost the morale and get you back regulated and centered.
Even just saying that, it's like, it's weird. It's kind of weird. And the thing is like, I want to be empathetic as someone who gets severely overstimulated and has to walk away and take a breath and sometimes loses her cool. I get it. I get what she's saying. I really do. And walking away before you explode on your children is not the issue here. I just want to make that really clear. Like I said, we teach it to new parents. I think it's healthy, but I think that communicating what's going on to your children, especially young children, is equally as important. So one, I believe, last thing that I want to touch on before we close up the video is her membership and membership perks. You can subscribe to her channel for $8.99 a month, and some of the perks are concerning, to say the least. One thing that she is offering, word for word out of her mouth, is behavior analysis and personalized advice, as well as like early content and stuff like that, and membership only Q&A. So if you have a pressing question, you can ask her for her advice and how she would handle it.
So we do a behavior analysis where we'll watch a video and then I'll talk through it, give my take on it, give my opinion on how I would handle it or what I would do and do differently.
And I want to ask what qualifications she thinks she has to offer people behavior analysis of their children. Now, she did say that she was previously a teacher, but obviously her education is a little bit outdated. It was years ago since she had been teaching, more since she'd been in school, right? And teacher's education is really lacking in behaviors and mental health and that sort of stuff, unfortunately. I don't know why. In this day and age, it's still lacking, but it is. It's like a 2-week course, last I heard. Now, it's been a while since I heard that, so maybe they've improved it, but probably not, because mental health doesn't matter in today's society for some godforsaken reason. But honestly, what qualifications does this woman have, other than having 8 children, to be offering any kind of intervention advice to specific children and behaviors? It's really giving connections. I don't like it. It's one thing to offer parenting advice that's worked for you and to promote what has worked for you in an ethical way, not displaying your children's big emotions on social media for millions to consume. But I digress. And it's a whole other thing to claim to be analyzing someone's behavior and offering personalized advice for that behavior or for that situation with very little qualifications, mind you. And I don't know if she's even done any continuing education or research or anything. She doesn't say that. She's continued to learn about child development and improve her techniques and all the things. Hey, look how well behaved my children are, and check out how amazing my parenting works. And I can help you too. Just pay me and I'll give you it's gross. It is gross behavior. And we, as the audience, as I said before, have zero idea what actually goes on behind closed doors. It's easy to put on a facade for the camera. We saw it alone with Ruby Frankie. And now I'm not saying that she is anything like Ruby was, obviously, but the patterns are there. And it was easy, although Ruby did post some very questionable parenting techniques like the beanbag chair and stuff like that. And it was a little sus for a long time before it continued to escalate. But even just the blind first time immediate obedience. Mommy asks, you do right away with a smile on your face, of course. Or even her withdrawing love from her children when she's overstimulated. Those can be considered red flags. Not saying they are, but they can be. And we have a right to think critically and put all the pieces together and call out those red flags and ask for clarification. And despite her claiming to be a gentle parent, like bordering authoritative parenting, which I don't understand why that's a bad term, like whatever. You can see authoritarian tendencies kind of slip out here and there. I saw this one video where someone was critiquing her techniques because she grabbed her toddler's face, forced that connection. That's not gentle parenting. That's not authoritative parenting. And it goes beyond, this whole get down to their level and speak at their level. That's important. But to grab their face, and again, we're forcing, or she's constantly grabbing the wrists of her toddlers, forcing the baby to pick up the spoon and throw it in the trash. Telling her very young children that they are being mean because they're displaying big emotions, forcing them to say, yes, mommy, and immediate obedience. Those things, when you put it all together, it can be considered some pretty big red flags. And when we are hiding behind this disguise of gentle parenting, well, it's really easy to manipulate the narrative when you're only showing a minute or 30-second clip. And even one of the TikToks that I saw that I will insert here, I'll probably just overlay it, was her trying to force feed her child. She does this a lot, where it's like they present food that the kids aren't going to eat, and then they try to force feed them food. And I'm all for encouraging kids to try it, to encouraging kids to take a bite. And I freaking hate food waste. My little guy is going through a time right now, and it drives me bonkers, where we open a banana, we take one bite, and then I get it. I do. But the forcing of the hand, the forcing of the trying, the forcing, period, it's weird. No, not weird. Weird's not the right word. It is suspicious to me. And it has you question things, especially if those ties are true. Now, we may never know if they are true. I'm sure it might come out one day. Who knows? But it also could be a really sneaky suspicion why her husband is never on camera, or rarely on camera, because he's a little bit busy. So while I do agree that she definitely has some good takes, some good advice, I think that some of the language she uses is just concerning or just doesn't sit well with me personally. Let me know what you guys think, if you think that terms like obedience and training and stuff versus teaching and respect, if that weirds you guys out too, because maybe I'm just trying to find a problem that's not nitpicking, I don't know. But it just leaves a poor taste in my mouth. And then on top of that, we have other allegations of being a part of a group that doesn't treat children very well, that demands blind obedience. The language is the same. And at the core of it, these kids cannot consent to all of their vulnerable personal meltdowns and tantrums and moments being plastered online for everyone to consume as entertainment. It's not their job. And there's ways to be able to share parenting advice without showing your kids. And we've talked about it before. That panders to predators. Children melting down, children in vulnerable situations, looking vulnerable, crying. Predators eat that shit up. It's not okay. But I think that's all I have for you for this video. I might pop in here and there with a couple as I edit it, because I feel like I forgot some stuff, but it's fine. It's fine. I'll make it work. But ultimately, I would love it if you guys would share your thoughts on all of this down below. It's a lot to kind of digest, because there's just a lot of little pieces here and there to all put together and everything. But I don't know. Something feels off. And when there's parents who are overly sickly sweet on the internet, it gives off a really weird vibe, because that's how other parents have been, and they have been proven to be not so nice people behind the camera. Thank you so much for joining me today. Please don't forget to like and subscribe before you pace out. And I hope you have a beautiful, wonderful, fantastic rest of your day wherever you are in the world. And I'll talk to you soon. Bye, guys.